How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about an important topic that's really going to affect everyone in the United States after August 29th. And that's the end of this called de minimis. I don't know how to say that right, which allowed imports valued under 800 to enter the U.S. duty free. And that's ending on the 29th of August. What that means is we're going to get screwed over big time as consumers who buy imported goods, especially Lego. When you shop on BrickLink, you can either buy domestically or internationally. One thing, as an American buyer consumer, I think the EU and other countries outside of the US have the best prices, best quantity of pieces, minifigures when it comes to Lego. I rarely buy from domestic buyers in the US because they're pretty much overpriced, low quantity. There's a lot of issue with US buyers, and I feel like the EU is really dominant on BrickLink, and I genuinely feel like this might change a lot of things. I don't know if this is gonna help American sellers on BrickLink fill the void that Europe isn't really gonna is honestly gonna lose a lot of business from American buyers, I assume. I really hope American stores really step it up during this period, because losing the EU due to tariffs is crazy. I just don't know what to think or even say, because the EU is pretty consistent when it comes to minifigure prices. They're the lowest of the low. When I compare American to EU, I'd say there's a big difference in price. If I recall, when the 212 poly bag came out, right? Foil pack, sorry. A lot of EU sellers were selling large quantities of 100 plus for like $5 each, okay? And then when I look at American sellers, some of these guys are selling some of these figures for like almost, I think at the time they were selling 212 clone troopers were selling for like 18, 12, $15 a piece. So I bought 100 of them, all right? 100 212 foil pack clone troopers for roughly around $500. Shipping was like $20 to $25. So, and then plus taxes, I guess it went up to like 545, I think, in terms of taxes. And compare that to buying on from an American seller on BrickLink, who most likely doesn't have 100 of that figure, because again, some of these guys have terrible quantities, or if they do, they're charging like 18 per figure, 20 per figure, 12, 15, whatever the case may be. It's overpriced, and that's almost 1.2k for just 100 of that exact same figure I can get in Europe for half that price. You get what I'm saying? With 1.2k, I could probably buy 200 212 clone trooper foil pack figures, whatever you call them, and it's basically going to be the same price. I'm getting double my money's worth versus supporting a shop, a US seller on BrickLink that's just overpricing things. See, that's the main issue I have. A lot of American sellers are really more capitalist heavy. They really overprice their things drastically. I don't know why, especially on eBay, Macari. When I go to buy minifigures, right, some of these guys are just overcharging for their stuff, which is pretty scary, because it's like you're not a wholesale business, okay? You're not Bricks and Minifigures, you're not Atlanta Brick Co., you're not the Brick Show Shop, you're none of these guys. I don't know why you're charging so much for certain figures. Like a good example would be, I'd say, a Stormtrooper, the Family Guy helmet Stormtroopers, okay? On most Europe BrickLink shops, I think they go for like $3, $3.45. It's usually between $2.85 to $3.50, let's say that, and then it spikes up to like a dollar plus on some US sellers, last time I checked this like 3 weeks ago, it could be different, you know, and US sellers sell them for like $4.50 or $5.50, you know, $2 difference in price is really crazy. I know people would say, oh, but you're paying like $20 shipping and stuff, but if you order a lot of them, that shipping cost really becomes obsolete, and you're getting more value out of shopping in the EU versus American. You know, it's kind of like, let's see this. Okay, if I'm buying, let's say I get the storm. Okay, Rebel Fleet Troopers. Okay, I got like 300 of them for like $500 a piece. Well, I think, let's see, hold on. Yeah, no, 600. I paid 600 for, I think, 300 Rebel Fleet Troopers, and they're roughly going for like $2 in Europe, less than that, $1.92 to $2 or whatever. While Americans are selling them for like $3 to $4 per figure. You know, 300 for $600 is not a bad deal. It really isn't, and plus the shipping was like, I don't know, due to the weight and stuff, I think it was like roughly $30, I think, from Germany. And then on top of that, taxes was like, again, like $6.40 or something. And then when I look at American, you know, $4 for a minifigure, that's literally double the price of one from Europe. One Fleet Trooper is $4, I think, in most American BrickLink shops, I think. Which is crazy to me. So I'm probably losing. So I'm paying four for 200 is what, 600. Yeah. So I'm basically losing 100 Rebel Fleet Troopers because American sellers are selling it for double the price. You know, you get what I'm saying? I really feel like really hope this is a, you know, there's some people who are pro-American, you know, on the politics side, and I really hope American BrickLink sellers step it up and try to really compete with European sellers. You know, try to kind of not take over, but really make me as an American consumer pander more towards American BrickLink sellers versus European sellers, because I still think European sellers are very dominant on BrickLink. There's no doubt about that. Like, I rarely shop on American BrickLink shops. I just feel like they're subpar and they don't really have anything I need, which is kind of crazy to say. Another thing that I'm really worried about, as well as people aren't talking about in terms of Lego, is the pick-a-brick on Lego.com. You know, there's bestseller and then there's standard. So what? Are we going to pay more for getting standard pieces now? And I guess bestseller is going to be more dominant or something like that. It's just very concerning right now because no one really knows what's going on. I've also reading along about this exemption, and international postal shipments will be sent via postal service like UPS will have their duties calculated differently. You know, there's going to be a 6 months grace period, and they will be assessed using a percentage of the item's value or a flat tariff of 80, 160, or 200, depending on the product's country of origin and its tariff rate. Which that doesn't really make, I don't really understand that too much. So you're saying I might pay up $80 per item, $160 or $200 per item of origin and its tariff rate? Sounds pretty crazy. Let me read that again. Package sent via UPS or like UPS will have duties calculated differently for a 6 month grace period. I don't know what that means. So that either this is terrible, where like, say if I order like, yeah, I don't know how this is gonna work, but still, that's a lot of money. You know, 80 to 160 to 200 extra on top of what you order is crazy. These tariffs, I really hope that these tariffs and stuff like that really get calculated, or at least shown more in a more open deal, because it just looks like, as an American consumer, I'm just regulated and told to only buy in American shops only. I can't really go out and, you know, I feel like I don't have the free will to shop anywhere I want after August 29th. A lot of people are saying this might be good I don't think it's good. I just don't think American BrickLink shops have the capacity to fill the European void. I really doubt that they can do that. I don't think it's gonna suck because I just don't really want to support American BrickLink shops. I just don't see the incentive in it. Unless they drop prices drastically to the point where they match European stores, maybe I'll bat an eye at an American shop. But until then, I just feel like this is something that's gonna really shake up how the average Lego consumer in the US buys their Legos now. I feel like we're gonna have to be forced to support these US shops now. And I really hope these US shops accommodate to the pricing or something like that, you know? Also, Lego.com, again, maybe we're gonna be forced to buy from bestseller only instead of standard, because this is, again, another issue where are these tariffs gonna affect Pick-a-Brick on Lego.com when you order standard? There's a lot of issues here that I'm uncertain of. As someone who shops on Japan websites and stuff, I've already finalized the things I want, so I don't have to worry about it later. But it's kind of scary because, again, you're gonna pay, you're paying more out of pocket now. It's gonna be very expensive now. I don't know. I don't know how this is gonna affect everyone. I really want to raise awareness because it's August 22nd. When I upload this, is probably gonna be August 23rd, and I think it might be too late because I think some of them are gonna start enforcing this tariff regulation as early as the 26th, if not today. I know Macari, who has like a Japanese partnership who do international shipping. I know they said starting today they're going to implement these changes of the tariff pricing. That's going to be, you're going to pay it already with the stuff you buy. So I don't know how much that's going to cost on certain things. Let's say a $30 thing plus the shipping is like $25, so that's already $50. And then if it's really an $80, $160 or $200 flat value, it's just not worth buying that anymore. It's just crazy to me. I need to know your opinions, your questions, or anything. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think, as a consumer in the great US of A, are you going to keep on shopping internationally? Are you going to be forced to focus domestically now? As a business owner who does BrickLink internationally and locally in the US, are you going to... I mean, an international buyer buying from the US, I don't think it's going to change anything, but as a US seller, you know, how do you think, what are you going to do to change the landscape of this? You know, how are you going to evolve into this new market, you know, where most of your business, how are you going to accommodate, basically, you know? It's kind of crazy to me. This is all, I don't know how I feel about this. Like I said, this is going to change a lot of things, a lot of spending habits when coming to buying internationally now. I just think this is stupid. I feel like this thing should have not been, this exempt should have stayed in place. It's going to hurt a lot of business. And I know people are going to say, oh, there's loopholes, you can do this and that. But honestly, it's not worth it, because the risk of it is jail time, fines, and a bunch of other BS. Over like a good worth $20? I don't know. Like, let's say I just buy something for $20 in Europe, and they do like some weird, I know there's some things you can do when sending internationally. When sending from Europe to USA, so you don't pay any duties or charges or whatever. But if that's not the case, if you're being fake about it or false, or putting false information about it, you can get hit with jail time or penalties, man. That's not worth it. Your freedom is not worth anything, and you get internationally. But yeah, let me know what you think, man, because this is looking pretty spooky. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, man, I'll see y'all later, and peace.